I'm Tom, and this is a look at how to use a Nespresso Lungo coffee. So if you have an espresso maker, you'll notice that there's two little cup sizes indicated on here. And one of these is going to be your standard espresso, and then this is going to be the Lungo, which is a larger brew. It's not quite like a drip coffee, but it's going to extract more from the same pod, and you're going to get a slightly less intense, more more water in there kind of brew, and you're going to get more coffee than you do with the espresso setting. So a couple things to note with this. Again, it's going to be a little bit less intensely flavored, and in order to make a good lungo, you want to make sure that you're using a lungo pod. And you'll know that by looking at the package. So with these Starbucks pods, you can see here it's going to say Lungo, and these are ones that it's recommending you can use that Lungo and still extract and get a good brew out of it. Some of the coffees are going to say that you can do Lungo. So if you look at the back, 110 milliliters versus 40, that's the difference in size between Lungo and espresso. This one's showing, yeah, you can brew either. And these Lungo ones are really showing just do Lungo. And then these ones is what you want to stay away from. This is one that's really just for espresso. So check the package, make sure that it's something that is good for brewing the Lungo size. This one would not be. This one is designed for it, and you'll see the Lungo name on there. It's not going to explode or something if you brew one of these that's not Lungo compatible, obviously, but you're just not going to get as good of an extraction, as good as a cup of coffee with it. So choose your Lungo compatible pod here. And make sure you got plenty of water. I don't have enough water probably here for Lungo because, again, it's going to use more liquid. So that's better, much more reasonable. Now we're going to go ahead and pop that pod in. Drop that into our Nespresso maker here. Close it up, and then we're going to get our cup to put under. Now, an important thing to note here, a standard espresso cup looks great for the standard espresso brew, the 40 milliliters. If you try to brew Lungo size into a standard espresso cup, either from Nespresso or your own, as I've got here, it is going to overflow. So don't brew Lungo into a little, tiny espresso cup. Swap that out, and what you're actually going to do, at least on mine, is you can retract the holder for that small cup and have plenty of room to take a bigger mug and place that in here instead. So that's a much more reasonable size to do our Lungo. And then the final step, we've got our capsule, we've got our sufficiently sized mug to not spill. And then instead of pressing the espresso button here, we're gonna press the Lungo button. And it'll go ahead and brew. And you can see, because it's gonna make a bigger cup, it's gonna spend a lot longer of a time brewing this. I'm going to bring more water through it. I'm going to do more of an extraction, end up with a milder flavor. And if you're used to running the espresso setting on your Nespresso maker, it feels like this has been going on forever. It takes about probably 30 seconds, 40 seconds or so, depending on what espresso maker you're using here to brew in that Lungo setting. I'm getting quite a lot extracted out here. We'll let this run its full course. You can see that Lungo button there blinking. And we're going to end up with something that's not quite, again, what you would get with a drip coffee. It would probably fill this mug, but certainly more than you would get filling just this tiny little espresso size mug. And this is great, if you want to have something more like the traditional drip coffee drinking experience, maybe brew 2 of those at a Lungo setting, almost like an Americano in some ways when you do that. Or if you're going to make a drink that you want to have a slightly less intense espresso flavor to it, it's good for making an iced espresso too, and anything where you just don't want quite that same intensity of the small, strongly brewed espresso setting on there. So that's how we brew a Lungo on the Nespresso maker.